and welcome to Journalism 100. I'm Professor Tracy Savage, and this is my lecture video. In this video, I will review Chapter 11, Advertising. Advertisements can be displayed anywhere and everywhere. One cannot walk down the street without seeing some form of advertisement. Every day, the average American comes in contact with 5,000 forms of advertising. Product placement is one type. It's the practice of strategically placing products in movies, TV shows, comic books, and video games so that the products appear as part of a story's set environment. An example is Pizza Hut in Wayne's World. Approximately 1/4 of every hour on television consists of commercials, and 11 minutes of the same hour displays product placement. So in total, 26 minutes of every hour shows some type of paid ad on television. And then, of course, there are ads all around us on billboards, street signs, store signs, television programs, as we said, restaurants, bars, magazines, grocery stores, just to name a few. Advertisements have been used throughout history. The use of advertising started around 3000 BCE. Shop owners in Babylon displayed signs made of wood or stone to advertise their shops. By 900 CE, town criers were hired to walk around and state the day's events, as well as guide shoppers to stores in various European cities. Soon after, brochures, handbills, posters, and broadsides, which were lengthy newsprint standard signs, were used to display media ads. By 1622, the first English newspapers used printed ads as a way of advertising instead of town criers, and by 1704, the first newspaper ads in colonial America were featured in the Boston Newsletter reporting land deals and ship cargoes. Elaborate ads weren't used until the 1830s due to the fact that most Americans, about 90%, were living in rural areas. National advertising began having a profound mark on society in the early 1850s when consumer goods, newspapers, handbills, and broadsides were able to be carried via trains thanks to the connection between the East Coast and the Mississippi River Valley. Space brokers are individuals who purchased ads in newspapers and sold it to various merchants. They were the first American advertising agencies. Volner Palmer was the prototype and the first ad agency in 1841. N.W. Ayer and Son was the first full-service modern ad agency. It helped create, write, produce, and place ads in newspaper and magazines. The ad agency was primarily employed by product companies and marketers instead of newspapers. The agencies acquired a fee from its advertising client for every ad placed, which included a 15% commission for the agency. After the mid-1800s, manufacturers learned that if their products were easily distinguishable and high quality, consumers would search for them by name. Manufacturers can dictate pricing and no longer have to worry about generic or bulk items. And research suggests that ads really aren't beneficial in the short run, but over time, they can establish popularity. By the beginning of the 1900s, patent medicines and department stores represented half of the profit taken in by ad agencies, and patent medicines and drug companies made up 1/6 of all print ads. Patent medicines generally consisted of water and 15 to 40% concentrated ethyl alcohol. Mrs. Winslow's soothing syrup, which was a patent medicine, contained traces of morphine. Medications like those promised to make the customer feel better, but also activated lifelong addiction issues for consumers. Coca-Cola was a medical tonic and contained cocaine until 1903. In 1906, the Food and Drug Act was passed to regulate patent medicine claims. Advertising changed the way newspapers were formed. In the mid-1800s, newspapers and editorial material took up 70 to 75% of space, and ads only took up 25 to 30% of the space. But by the 1900s, 50% of the space in a newspaper consisted of ads. As advertising became more widespread, it possessed more power to influence social change and worked to appeal to many demographics. It significantly influenced the transition from a producer directed to a consumer driven society. 99% of copywriters and ad executives were men, but women were the ones who primarily bought the household items. For decades, ads highlighted the stereotypical woman. For example, cleaning supplies would be trademarked as heroic, so women could feel victorious about the job they were doing. Ads were often sexist and enforced gender roles. The ad agency was being reprimanded for advertising products that people didn't know they wanted but persuaded them into believing they needed them. The War Advertising Council, a voluntary group of agencies and advertisers that organized war bond sales and blood drives, was created to establish a more favorable reputation. The Ad Council replaced the War Advertising Council after the war, and it developed campaigns like the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. You may remember that slogan. Today, the Ad Council works to improve lives by highlighting topics such as homelessness, hurricane relief, and addiction. Various watchdog organizations were formed in the early 1900s to watch over deceptive advertising. In 1914, the government created the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, to help monitor advertising abuses. Subliminal advertising is a 1950s term that refers to hidden or disguised print and visual messages that allegedly register on the subconscious, creating false needs and seducing people into buying products. For example, drink Coca-Cola ads were placed in movies. In 1958, the National Association of Broadcasters banned the use of subliminal ads. Slogan is a term used in advertising. It's a catchy phrase that attempts to promote or sell a product by capturing its essence in words. Today, visual stimulation is key in advertising a product. The postmodern design phase in art and architecture of the 1960s and 70s emerged as a new era began to affect advertising. Ad-rich magazines such as Vogue and Vanity Fair began hiring European designers as art directors. This marked the start of images being given equal status to words in the creative process. The 14,000 ad agencies in the U.S. are typically separated into two categories. Mega agencies, which provide a full range of services ranging from advertising to PR to operating their own in-house radio and TV production studios. And then there are boutique agencies, and they offer more personal services focused on innovative campaigns. In 2014, the four global mega agencies were WPP, Omnicom, Publicis, and Interpublic. Ad agencies typically divide the labor of creating and maintaining campaigns among four departments: account planning, creative development, media coordination, and account management. An account planner's role is to develop an effective advertising strategy by combining the views of the client, the creative team, and the consumer. The consumer's views are the hardest to understand. In 1932, Young and Rubicam first used statistical techniques developed by the pollster George Gallup. By the 1980s, most agencies sought out psychologists and anthropologists to advise them on human nature and buying habits. Market research in advertising and public relations agencies, that's the department that uses social science techniques to access the behaviors and attitudes of consumers toward particular products before any ads are created. Demographics, that's the earliest type of market research. It is the study of audiences or consumers by age, gender, occupation, ethnicity, education, and income. While demographic analysis provided information on social status and behavior, it revealed very little about people's attitudes and feelings. Psychographics came into play in market research. It's the study of audience or consumers' attitudes and beliefs, interests, and motivations. It relies on focus groups. And focus groups is a common research method in psychographic analysis in which moderators lead small group discussions about a product or an issue, usually with 6 to 12 people. In 1978, the Stanford Research Institute, now called Strategic Business Insights, instituted its Values and Lifestyles strategy. Values and Lifestyle is a market research strategy that divides consumers into types and measures psychological factors, including how consumers think and feel about products and how they achieve or do not achieve the lifestyles to which they aspire. The creative department of an ad agency is composed of a team of writers and artists. They outline the rough sketches for print and online ads and then develop graphics. They use a storyboard. In advertising, that's a blueprint or a roughly drawn comic strip version of a proposed advertisement. Viral marketing are short videos or other content that markets hope will quickly gain widespread attention as users share them with friends online or by word of mouth. Media departments are staffed by media planners and media buyers. Media buyers in advertising, they are the individuals who choose and purchase the types of media that are best suited to carry a client's ads and reach the target audience. Saturation advertising is the strategy of inundating a variety of print and visual media with ads aimed at target audiences. A major part of client management includes bringing in new business and managing the accounts of current clients. Account executives in advertising, they are the client liaisons responsible for bringing in new business and managing the accounts of established clients. Since the 1980s, clients have changed agencies more frequently. Account reviews in advertising is the process of evaluating or reinvigorating an ad campaign, which results in either renewing the contract with the original ad agency or hiring a new agency. The earliest form of web advertising appeared in the 1990s, and they featured banner ads. Now we have pop ups, video ads, and sponsorships. Interstitials are advertisements that pop up on a screen window as a user attempts to access a new web page. Spam is unsolicited commercial email. In 2010, spam accounted for 85% of email messages. Paid search advertising has become the dominant format of web advertising. Advertisers have moved to the internet because it is the leading area of growth for advertising. Mega agencies such as WPP and Omnicom have actually added digital media companies and departments to develop and sell ads online. The internet has drawn people away from traditional mass media. Internet advertising offers several advantages compared to its traditional counterparts, but its biggest is that it can develop consumer profiles and then direct targeted ads to specific website visitors. This is done through cookies and online surveys. Internet ad agencies can also track how many times an ad has been viewed, that's called impressions, and how often the ad has been clicked on, called click-throughs. Third screen advertising has been increasingly popular. Advertising on social media platforms has become extremely popular too. Social media such as Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, and Foursquare have allowed consumers to actively engage with ads. A recent controversy in online advertising is if people have to disclose if they've been paid to promote a product. Ad agencies claim that their main purpose for advertising is to inform consumers about products currently on the market. They use various techniques to persuade consumers to purchase their products. They do this by storytelling and developing a certain mood. Here are some of the more common advertising strategies. First person testimonial, an advertising strategy that associates a product with the endorsement of a well known celebrity, like Kendall Jenner and Pepsi. Plain folks pitch is an advertising strategy that associates a product with simplicity and the common person. Snob appeal approach is an advertising strategy that attempts to convince consumers that using a product will enable them to maintain or elevate their social status. The bandwagon effect is an advertising strategy that incorporates exaggerated claims that everyone is using a particular product, so you should too. The bandwagon effect is the most common strategy used in advertising. The hidden fear appeal is an advertising strategy that plays on a sense of insecurity, trying to persuade consumers that only a specific product can offer relief. And irritation ads. That's an advertising strategy that tries to create product name recognition by being annoying or obnoxious. Yeah, you've heard it, the Aflac duck commercials. The association principle is a persuasive technique that associates a product with a positive cultural value or image, even if it has little connection to the product. Take the Marlboro cigarette brand. In the 1920s, it was a woman's fashion cigarette, advertised independence and freedom, women's right to vote. The tip of the cigarette was red to hide lipstick prints, but it changed to a man's cigarette. They advertised handsome, powerful men. Myth analysis is a strategy for critiquing advertising that provides insights into how ads work on a cultural level. According to myth analysis, the majority of ads are narratives with stories to tell and social conflicts to resolve. Most ads include ads incorporated myths in mini story form, featuring characters, settings, and plots. Most stories incorporate a scenario where there is a conflict between an individual or social values. That conflict will somehow be resolved by the purchasing of a product. The First Amendment was passed in 1791, allowing citizens and journalists to speak and write about anything they choose. However, there is no direct statement about commercial speech. Commercial speech is any print or broadcast expression for which a fee is charged to the organization or individual buying time or space in the mass media. It means less protection from the government. The objective is to protect consumers against false or misleading ads. Businesses fall under commercial speech because it reaches a larger audience, customers. Some examples are commercials, internet ads, flyers. Ads manipulate powerless consumers and invade the privacy of our minds. Research shows that consumers are not as predictable as advertisers once assumed. 75 to 90% of all new consumer products fail due to the lack of buyer support. The concern remains over the effect of advertising. Watchdog groups are concerned by the number of people ads can influence, and critics still condemn ads that stereotype or equate products with the narrow definitions of beauty, sex appeal, and youth. Children are considered consumer trainees. Kids and adolescents influence $500 billion a year in family spending, so they've been progressively targeted by advertisers. Action for Children's Television, or ACT, has been trying to limit advertising aimed at children. In the 1980s, ACT campaigned to restrict program length commercials, which are 30-minute cartoon programs that were created to advertise a line of toys, such as Friends and G.I. Joe. Congress is hesitant to restrict the protection that the First Amendment provides to commercial speech. In 1989 and 1990, Channel One was introduced into thousands of schools. Channel One News was a daily news program that contained commercial advertising for marketing in schools, with supplementary educational resources. It offered free video and satellite equipment in exchange for a 12-minute package of current events programming that included 2 minutes of commercials. They were more likely to occur in underfunded schools. Advertising has a direct link with society's view of what it means to be beautiful. Ads correlate beauty with physical appearance, being thin, which has caused a worldwide epidemic of eating disorders. In 1970, the average girl started dieting at 14. 20 years later, in 1990, the average girl started dieting at the age of 8. Ads have been linked to the rise of obesity, which has tripled in the last 40 years in the U.S. Two-thirds of adults were classified as being overweight or having obesity. An obese nation is good for business. It allows advertisers to market millions of diet programs and equipment. Commercial Alert is a nonprofit organization that's been trying to limit excessive commercialism in society by notifying the public about the ways that advertising has been brought out of the public sphere. For example, movies cross-promoting with fast food restaurants, like McDonald's promoting Despicable Me. False or misleading claims have plagued ads. Puffery is an over-exaggeration of facts. A limited amount is tolerated. such as new and improved. Ads must make sure they do not go as far as deceiving consumers. The FTC rules requires that scientific evidence be there to support claims such as preferred by 4 out of 5 doctors. The Truth Campaign, which is a national youth smoking prevention campaign, uses TV and print ads to fight smoking. In the year 2000, 23% of teens smoked, but by the year 2014, only 9% of teens smoked. Political consultants have been developing market research and advertising methods to promote candidates. Political advertising is the use of ad techniques to promote a candidate's image and persuade the public to adopt a particular viewpoint. Politicians were once given 30-minute time slots, but now need to purchase 30-second time slots. In the 2008 election, over $5.28 billion was spent on advertising by all presidential and congressional candidates. This is the end of this lecture video. Be sure to read the entire chapter and do your discussion board assignment. Then review the study guide and the key terms, and by the end of this week, you'll take the quiz for this chapter. Good luck, everyone.